County Superintendent of Education. Of course, he hadn't had the job too long, but as many of you know, and many of you asked, are some questions concerning an altercation that happened at McGee Middle School last week. I felt like the thing to do was come to the source, and he could tell us because there was some criticism of different things at the school, and I wanted him to give you an opportunity to tell. I thank you so much for coming. I really do. All right, we're just going to go with some questions. Okay. I got them.
Okay, all right.
In the event that an altercation or something happens at one of our schools, how is our faculty and staff to respond?
The faculty and staff is to respond by breaking it up.
They can.
They can. Break it up, try to get it to stop. Now, there are certain cases, if you've got two grown boys and stuff, and you've got a little small teacher or a teacher doesn't feel there to get help, the main number one thing is to try to get it to stop, to try to get that fight to stop. And that can be directing them, stop, whether it's boys or girls. Sometimes, but the emotion of the fight itself, sometimes they don't hear you.
Right.
And so they continue to fight. A bigger guy or something like that can stand in there, step in between the two of them, or you see you have the opportunity to step in there in between the two of them and get the altercation to stop. Because the thing is, you got high charged up emotions. You got people
they get stronger.
They get stronger with it. And so the thing is, you want to direct them to stop. We don't expect every teacher to just go in there and put themselves into harm's way. But if you have the opportunity to pull one of them back or get them to stop, or those type of things, that's what we're wanting to do.
That is so interesting because I was told they were not to break them up.
It depends. You got to make a judgment, and each one of them is a judgment call. I mean, you still got two kindergartners fighting in front. Exactly. You got that. You push, get one of them off of each other or stuff like that. You don't just continue to let them fight until you keep telling them. Until they get the emotions pulled down and stop. And so the thing is, I've been doing this 31 years. I broke up fights, when I was younger. You just kind of learn as you go. There's ways that you can kind of get them apart, get them away from each other, and kind of diffuse the emotion of the situation, because that's what a fight is. It's a highly charged emotional situation, and you're trying to get it to calm down and get peace resolved.
Is that the district policy?
I'd have to go back and look through each single one of the policies, but what that is the protocol for it, that's the procedures for it, is to get it. You don't want it to just sit there and continue to have a fight going in, because each fight is its own situation, and so each particular situation has to be handled differently. Because, like I said, a fight between two kindergartners and a fight between two senior football players
are
whole different ball games. So you can't write just a policy that says it is expected that but it is expected from the protocol and the procedures that you do around every single day is to get the situation. Don't just ignore the situation. Get the situation. Stop as best as you possibly can.
If referring to this situation that happened, one of the complaints, I guess you could call it, that I got was that there was obviously a teacher there who was visible at the end of one of the films, and he does nothing. And so that's when I questioned it to somebody, and that was what I thought it was, policy, you couldn't go in. So that's interesting. So it's a judgment call, really.
Right.
All right, let's talk about the safety of our students. Now, we're really going to be emphasizing McGee Middle School and McGee High School. Right. Now, one of the public's concerns, and one of mine, and has been for a long time, is that we have an open campus.
Right.
And that means that we do everything we can to keep people from going down through there, but they can drive on the street, on First Street, I think it is, down, and because it's a public street. Right. So I know that the buildings have security and they limit visitors and all that kind of stuff, but what do y'all think we can do? I know it's a concern.
It's been a concern ever since. I know, even whenever at the old elementary, you had fencing around it. But then it's always been a concern every single time that, you know, we've ever came across with meetings. We have, well, these are things we've done. Last year, we had a safety coordinator that came through, and he examined not just McGee and Mendenhall, and not just McGee Middle and McGee High School, but all of the schools, and gave us tips and procedures of what we could do to make certain things safer. Now, there are still those concerns with it, but that's also part of our long-range plan of what we're trying to do is to, we do know that we're not living in the same times that of what, when these schools were originally built. And see, many of these schools are older than I am.
They definitely are. They're older than me.
And so the thing is, we're not living in the same times. We're not dealing with the same challenges that we were dealing with back when they built those schools. And so that's part of our long-range plan is to build safer campuses and move out of these facilities that are going to, you know, end up being an unsafe place for, you know, or they have those dangers. I'll say it. I'm not saying that they're because we do the things that we possibly can to keep it, but it is a public street, and they do still have these things. And will it be, you know, does it present certain challenges that other campuses, you know, that are closed off don't have to face? Yes, they do, and that's kind of part of whatever our long range plan is to create campuses that don't have these same challenges.
Right. That's really, that was a lot of the consolidation.
Yeah,
was to be able to get behind a fence.
Exactly, because I mean, Mendenhall faces the high school faces the same challenge. It's got a road on, you know, on the sides of it, and those, like I said, those weren't challenges that whenever they originally, you know, you wanted to create a neighborhood school, you know, or something. But the thing is, you know, we're not living in the same world we were unfortunately, you know. And so there are challenges. But then also, one of the things that we're trying to do, and it's going to be put before the board this month, is to hire 2 school resource officers. And so that we would have a police officer.
Is a resource officer or a safety officer?
Yes, so it's an officer that would be placed on that campus, a police officer that would be placed on that campus. It'll be brought before the board this month to for them to approve or disapprove, but to put a school resource officer so that you would have a police officer on the McGee campus, on the Mendenhall campus, and so that if an incident occurred, and you would have an officer who's present who could break up fights, who could, if there is a particular challenge or a particular situation that is brought forth, that, you know, a parent that comes on that doesn't, you know, act the way they're supposed to act, you know, that school resource officer can help the principal or help the administrators that are there on that campus, you know, to get that situation
resolved. I know before it was not funded, and it has been taught for quite a while.
It was put in the budget for this time. Now we got a job description that'll go before the board, and then I've talked with the sheriff, and we're trying to get that worked out.
So if the board approves it, it shouldn't be a long time before we see that.
Right, it should move on pretty quickly.
One thing I want to ask you, I realized that with this situation, we had a parent get involved.
Right.
As a parent, what should you do? I mean, also, well, sometimes we're the parent's not rational. That's me. You know, if it's happening to my child.
This is what I absolutely never take matters into your own hands. Never, as a parent, take matters into your own hands and step onto that campus, because there are policies and there are procedures for if parents walk onto a campus or parents walk onto a bus and do things that they're, you know, and address a situation. In every single situation, you go to that school administrator and say, I've got an issue, help me with this issue. If the principal or the administrator on that campus doesn't help you or doesn't resolve it to you, what you did, then you come to the central office and we'll take it or call the central office 847-8000 and say, I've got an issue. I've gone to the principal, I've gone to, but never take matters into your own hands. Because the thing is, what you think you're trying to remedy that situation can put yourself in a whole lot more issues. You can be charged.
That's what I wanted to ask. What can happen?
If you touch another child, you can be charged with assault. I mean, because you're.
That's just the rule.
It's just that's the law. That's the law of the land. You walk on campus and to do something like that, you can be charged with trespassing. Mm-hmm. You can be banned from campus. You don't even have to hit or touch somebody to be banned from campus. I mean, I take as an elementary school principal, I banned people from campus because they came in acting a way that an unprofessional way in front of children. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is, that hadn't changed. And in this position, you know, I'm responsible for all of the campuses. And so if they tell me somebody came up acting a certain way or in front of children or put children in harm's way or exposed children to actions that they weren't supposed to, I'll ban them from campus in a heartbeat. And that means all events, so that means like a ball game? Exactly. So the thing is, if you got an issue, this is the number one thing I said, go to the administration of that campus and tell them what your issue is. Go as calm as you can. I understand people get emotional now, and when you're dealing with children, people they get emotional. Don't lose your cool. Number one thing is don't lose your cool. And that's that goes for everything in life. That's seriously just good advice for life. Mm-hmm. Don't lose your cool. I mean, the best way you can, go to that school administrator, tell them what the issue is. The school administrator is paid to listen, to resolve the issue the best they can. If they can't resolve the issue, they're still there to work with you to try to resolve the issue. And then if you worked with that school administration and you can't get an issue resolved, then there's higher up on the chain. And we have people all the time that'll call the superintendent's office and say, hey, I'm having an issue with something. But don't take matters into your own hands.
It's almost like it's not even an invisible line. Mm-hmm. There's a line.
There is a line. There is a, if you step foot on any campus, on any one of these campuses, there's a professionalism that is expected. Mm-hmm. That when you walk onto one of these campuses, because your child is not the only child that's there. It's all of our children that we've got to protect. The issue may be the only issue that you're thinking of right now, but there are tons of issues that are going on like that particular time. And so the administrator has to listen to your issue, try to resolve the issue, because and I know somebody will bring something to you, and that's one side of the story.
They don't tell the whole.
They don't have the whole sides of the story, or don't have all of the answers and all of the facts. And so the administrator is there to listen to it and then to resolve what the situation is. Every situation doesn't get resolved just like that. Some take investigation, some take looking around, and that's what I used to tell people. I said, I'll look into it, I'll get back with you. I expect the administrator to get back with that particular person and to tell them what they found out. And sometimes I've called them up and said, this is what I found out, or I've got an impasse right here because I don't think I'm getting the whole truth, or I don't think I'm getting both sides of it. Or sometimes their child will tell them only one side of the story, and then when you go to do the investigation, you end up with more sides of the story to it, and that they find out, hey, wait, my child wasn't telling me. They weren't telling me 100% the truth. But that's why each situation is different. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's best to go to the administrator and say, this is what I know. Mm-hmm. And then let the administrator handle the situation. And then I expect the administrator to get back with you and try, so we can try to resolve the issue. If you don't feel like it's been resolved, there's other, like I said, there's other steps that you take, but don't take it in your own hands. Don't step on a bus. don't step on a campus with the intent that you're going after that other kid, because it's going to end up bad for you, because we do have policies and procedures.
Well, I think this is
for that.
one thing, the public may be misconstrued, because what was said, and I know we're dealing with social media, is that the school did nothing.
Right.
The school did nothing.
Yeah.
And
that's not true.
It's not true.
It's not, because the thing is, that's 2 children there. That's 2 children that were involved in an incident. You wouldn't want me to go around telling what happened to in an incident involving your child, no more than we could go around telling what happened in an incident that involved 2 other children. And that's it. That's another thing which you just brought up, is about social media. We're not in the same. We're not in the same world. We're in the digital world, and this is the way it works. And just be as honest as it can be. You know, in the old days when they would say, "You meet me out by the tree after school," and get in a fight, and so word gets around to everybody, "Hey, there's going to be a fight out by the tree or something that afternoon." But that doesn't work. Nobody had cell phones back there. If you weren't by the tree, you didn't see the fight,
Right.
and you just got told about the fight. Nowadays, we're going to end up with a fight, or I'm going to jump on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It could be either which way around. That they agree that they know they're going to end up in a fight, or one of them don't know that they're going to get in a fight. They just end up getting jumped on. Everybody will take that right there. They'll take that cell phone and they'll get around there. And the second the fight starts, and you can look it up. And McGee is not the only place. You can go to YouTube or stuff, and they punch in school fights, and you'll see them all across this country, because that's what the kids will do, because they'll want to videotape that fight, and kids truly don't understand what they're putting out there. It's just the idea, I can make this go viral, or I can make this go around it, but kids truly don't understand how dangerous these devices are that they have in their hand, or how powerful these devices are, or what they can do. So you're living in a whole different world. So the thing is, I wasn't there when the fight happened. I've seen the video. The thing, and so it keeps getting pushed, and it keeps getting pushed, and it keeps getting pushed. But I tell you this, I walked the McGee campuses this morning before I came to do the interview. Went out to McGee Elementary, drove around the campus, no fights. And so the thing is, and it's sad to say, but fights make the day interesting, on a normal day. And so in a kid's mind, and for a teacher's mind, no, it's not so interesting. Or for an administrator, it's not so interesting. But the mundane, thing of the day, in a kid's mind, this is the exciting thing that's going to end up happening that day. And so if it's the exciting thing, let's video it, and then it's the talk of the...
That brings me to another question.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we allowed cell phones on campus? What is our policy?
The thing is, they can be used for good too.
Sure.
So, and so they're even on, it's one of those things that, in the lower grades, that they're used for so many different things than just, so parents do give the kids cell phones, and kids have them all around. And so it's one of those things, you've got policies and procedures in place, but then when they start misusing something that's, that's there, that's when you put it in, you put it into different avenues. Elementary kids, little small kids, they don't need cell phone. So you have that, if a parent has given them one, but like if they end up going home, and we used to all have landlines.
Mm-hmm.
And so now most, homes don't have landlines. So if the kid goes home, it's expected, they say, hey, I'm here at the house, or what have you, or I've got, or plans get changed. Mm-hmm. And there's so many kids that are involved in extracurricular things, and so they're, it's a form of communication. And just like any other form of communication, if you use it the right way and everybody is respectful towards one another and being responsible about it, you don't have an issue with it. It's when you misuse what you have that you end up with an issue.
The person that films, the student that films, is there a possibility of any kind of repercussion for that?
There can be, and it depends on the situation, but there can be and it's how it's distributed. It's how certain things are. Because like I said, it can be misused. You could film something and then cyber. There's what's called cyberbullying out there. If you misuse it after that, there can be repercussions for that person who films that. There's policies for each part of this, and there's an entire bullying policy, and it's according to but like I told you, each situation is different. Each situation brings its own little challenges, and sometimes you find out, hey, that's not even,
what happened?
or there's something in here that we don't even have a policy for, and then we have to end up writing a policy or getting a policy to handle those particular things, because they can misuse it, in many different ways, and we find out a lot of times they misused it in a way we didn't even think about.
I know. That's more savvy.
Exactly. And so it's all brings new challenges. It all brings new, but that's what I want to ensure. We've got safe campuses. We've got things that, and I'm going to sit here and tell you that every adult acts the way. I would expect them to act every single time and in every single situation. Do they act the way I would expect them to act? They don't. And I found out that, hindsight's 20/20. You can always go back and say, I wish we would have done this better, or I wish we would have done, this particular in a different way. I wish we would have done it in a different way. But I'm ultimately responsible. I'm the superintendent. The buck stops with me. And I want everyone to be ensured you're on a safe campus. You're on a campus with administrators who care, who have expectations of them, of the way I expect those administrators to act, and the way I expect them to handle a particular situation. If they don't handle it the way that they, or if we see a way that they should have handled it better, we address it. We address it, and we try to make every single campus as safe as we possibly can. We're seeing that we need school resource officers. We're going to bring it before the board to get school resource officers. If we see a situation, we address the situation. If we see something that needs a policy or needs something, we address that as well. Every single day, we try to do stuff better. You try to, and every day brings a new challenge. I'm not going to sit here and tell you. Sometimes they bring challenges you never even thought you were going to even ever face. And schools evolve, and so you get new policies, you get new things, you get new ways of doing particular things to make it safer and safer and safer for these boys and girls. Because the thing is, sometimes they don't even realize what the danger is. They really and truly don't realize what the danger is. And you got to sometimes protect them from themselves as well. You got to protect them from themselves as well. And they don't always like it, but it's not always here to be liked. It's here to make it a safer environment for each and every one of these boys.
I imagine the policy and procedure book is pretty thick.
Oh yeah, they're just
and a new one every day.
I mean, it's really and truly, you sometimes say this is an issue we've got to address. And so every year we go back through the handbook and we take a look at particular things to address something better, or we may have had an issue that year and said, hey, let's revise this policy, or let's revise this procedure to make sure that we're doing stuff safer. and making everything safer for all boys and girls.
Thank you so much for coming,
No
because I
problem.
know people had lots of questions and comments and that type of thing.
Well, that's why I'm here. Look, I'm an open book, and I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say I know all the answers every single time, but, I'm more than willing to come on here and talk, and try to resolve any perception that may be a wrong perception, or let's get it, because in the end, number one, what we want to do is to provide a quality education for all the boys and girls in Simpson County. And that's what we're here for. That's what I get up for every single morning to go and do, is to provide the best educational setting for all the boys and girls in Simpson County.
I look forward to working with you.
Uh-huh.
I hope you'll have a good day, and think about